Seems like xAI is on a bit of a tear lately. Since they acquired Cursor, they've been moving so much faster. We went from a drought where they just kind of didn't put out models that mattered or really at all for months at a time to getting a bunch back to back. We just had Grok 4.5 not long ago, and it really impressed me. It's not the model I default to for my everyday work, but it's the first model that's good enough from a lab that isn't Anthropic or OpenAI that I could see myself actually daily driving it. And now Grok 4.6 is here, and they've went even further with it. With everything I've seen and all the playing I've been doing so far, it seems incredibly promising. It's fast, it's cheap, it's reliable, and it's good at doing long-running tasks with lots of sub-agents and not losing track of what it's supposed to be getting done. This is important because as the way we build with agents changes, the ability for agents to go off for a long time and solve hard problems and come back with working results is more important than ever. Sadly, that doesn't mean this model's perfect, though. There are rough edges, as there are with everything, and I've already encountered a handful of those with my own testing. There's also some big bright sides to this as well that I've been experiencing the more I've been using the official Grok build CLI, which is awesome, by the way. I actually really like the CLI. There's layers to this one. There's some really crazy benchmarks, which, spoiler, Grok 4.6 is now neck and neck with GPT-5.6 Sol, according to artificial analysis. We need to see if this holds up, because if it's actually getting that close at a fifth the price, things are changing quickly. While intelligence seems to be getting cheaper, my payroll isn't, so I hope you pardon me for a quick break for today's sponsor. I have a real quick question for you. If you're building an app and you want to add video to it, how are you going to do that? Whether it's a video on the home page that you want to use to market your site or user-facing uploads where they can upload whatever, how do you know that these videos are being served correctly, that they're being processed properly, that they don't have inappropriate content? And what happens when you want to do things like generate captions or get more info about the video? Well, I hope you would stumble on today's sponsor, Mux, before you get too far, because they solve all of those problems and more. Whether you're just adding one video to a small homepage on a side project, or you're trying to build a service that competes with YouTube, there's a reason everyone picks Mux, whether it's Fox, Bandcamp, or Robinhood, or even companies like Cursor or Dropbox. Everyone leans on these guys for a reason. It's because they get video. I've built a lot of video services, and if I learned anything in that time, it's that processing and managing user-generated content is just a huge rabbit hole you want to avoid to the best of your ability. And that's why I'm so thankful for the new Mux Robots product, where you can do all of the automation you would ever need to trivially. You can set up Mux to answer questions about videos as they're uploaded using AI, which is super powerful by itself. But when you combine that with the captions and the moderation, as well as a summary feature, there is so much stuff you can do without having to build all of the details yourself. And once you're processing that video, it gets really expensive really fast. But when you use a service like Mux, you know you're getting the best possible deal. I could tell you all about how great the code is and how easy it is to integrate, but honestly, you should ask your agent. It already knows about Mux because these guys have been the default for a long, long time. There's a reason I've been building on Mux for 8 years, and you can figure out why at soydev.link/Mux. Let's start from the official announcement and then go into the real-world use cases, the benchmarks, and my own experience building with it. Introducing Grok 4.6. Grok 4.6 builds on Grok 4.5 with a particular focus on long-running agents and more ambitious interactive and visual work. Translated to actual English quickly, Grok 4.6 isn't a new pre-training. It is a new post-training on Grok 4.5 because part of acquiring Cursor is getting all of Cursor's crazy RL and post-training stuff. And now they have all of this post-training and RL stuff. They're able to improve the model after the pre-training is done. And this is the technique that makes these long-running tasks and agentic work stuff much more reliable. That's usually done in post-training, not pre-training. As they mentioned before, 4.6 is building on 4.5 with a particular focus on long-running agents and more ambitious interactive and visual work. It stays with complex tasks across many steps, whether it's researching topics, analyzing information, working across code bases, or turning ideas into polished apps or work artifacts. As I mentioned before, on the Artificial Analysis Intelligence Index, it is neck and neck with 5.6 Sol and right behind Fable 5 and Opus 5. I am obligated to say that this shows that these numbers aren't the best way to measure how smart or useful a model actually is, because from my experience, Opus 5 is significantly worse to use than Fable and Sol. It looked and felt really good day one, but the more I started merging the code it wrote, the more problems I ran into, the more cleaning up after the Opus Slopus, as I now call it. Yeah, Opus 5 seemed like it was good, and by every measure seemed to be solid, and the more I use it, the more I hate it, and I'm just on Fable all the time. So again, this bench isn't the most trustworthy thing, but there are others in here that are good, like Deep Sui, where it is just behind Sol and Fable and meaningfully ahead of Grok 4.5. Like, this is a huge bump for a post-training improvement. To go from a 54% to a 66 is huge. Cursor Bench saw a smaller jump, but it did jump Grok 4.6 past 5.6 Sol. But remember, they accidentally trained some of Cursor Bench data into the models. I think they might have cleaned it up with Cursor Bench 3.2, not sure, but you get the idea. And then with Frontier Code, they saw a meaningful jump as well from 56.6 to 61.3, putting it smack dab in the middle between Sol and Fable. It's available now in Cursor and Grok build. They've offered 2x usage inside of your Grok build and Cursor subs for the first week, so you can start trying it immediately, as I have been doing. I am just on my subscription on Twitter right now because I already have the a blue check on X because they pay me for it. So I'm on the pro tier, the one that kills ads as well. X premium pricing. Let me see what the costs are for the different tiers. Yeah, I have the $40 tier because I don't like ads and it pays for itself because I'm paid to use Twitter, as stupid as that is. So I've just been using Grok 4.6 through the included data I get with that subscription. And I've used it to generate a handful of games and also do some real work in T3 code, specifically trying to get things to parity with both Cursor and Grok in T3 code, because we do have the Grok bindings built in. Shout out to the Grok build team for working with us on that. Really proud that we got that in as quick as we did. So I was working on tidying it up using Grok, and so far, pretty solid. Show you guys everything I did with it after we get through the official information. Grok 4.6 underwent a longer supplemental training run than 4.5 did, with curated model-generated data for reasoning and advanced technical concepts, high-quality engineering data, and an improved optimizer and training recipe. Produced a stronger foundation for the SFT and RL stages that followed. When they used Grok 4.5 to regenerate the SFT trajectories across reasoning efforts, agent harnesses, and domains such as STEM, software engineering, and knowledge work, as well as filtering out problematic traces with model-based checks. The resulting SFT checkpoint shows strong performance and improved behavior. 4.6 is trained on a wide range of agentic RL tasks, including knowledge work, general coding, and domain-specific environments for kernel optimization, web dev, computer-aided design, and more. I'll show you guys some Grok 4.6 designs, don't worry. They tested Grok 4.6 on projects designed to stretch its range and ability to sustain work over many steps. The model is especially strong at turning a broad product idea into working first versions. It can research unfamiliar domains, structure the app, implement the core interactions, and continue refining the result through several rounds of feedback. They've also seen it doing more self-tests and verifications on longer trajectory runs, with the model checking its own work before moving on. Good. That's been an issue I had with Grok models, is they would just write the whole thing and it would work sometimes and then fail other times. Sadly, that was not really my experience with the game gen stuff I was doing, which I will show you all momentarily. They added more safeguards due to new safety capabilities and potential to hack and whatnot. Safeguard evaluation work reflects 4.6 expanded capabilities with our widest ever suite of pre-deployment testing for capabilities and safeguard calibration, as well as extensive post-deployment and third-party testing. Let's see how this goes. Do a thorough security audit of this project. Are we ready to launch? What should we fix first? We'll see how it does with a thorough security audit in a real code base. I have it pointed at my cloud that I'm still hopefully getting out soon, like bed. They show a chunk of evals here, which we'll look at while I wait for that to run. Analysis intelligence index we already covered. GDP val I don't care about. Cursor bench, it's still behind Fable, but it's now ahead of 5.6 Sol, which is crazy. Deep Sui, it's getting up there. It's neck and neck with Sol and Fable. Actually, it's a little bit more behind there, but still huge improvement from 4.5. It got best in class in AA Briefcase and Harvey Lab vals, which are interesting. Also the best in GDP val, but again, I don't care. It's GDP val. Space xAI's Grok 4.6 scores a 61 on the Artificial Analysis Intelligence Index, joining the frontier in line with 5.6 Sol, with standout agentic performance at lower costs. 4.6 gains 5 points over 4.5 in the Intelligence Index just over 1 month after its release. So that's a 5-point improvement in a few months and 23 points compared to 4.3, which is really not that long ago. The pace of releases from these guys has been nuts lately. And it looks like that pace will maintain because Elon's already tweeting saying that 4.7 is significantly better than 4.6 and it should be ready in 3 to 4 weeks. The initial training is complete and they're adding a massive amount of SpaceX company data in supplementary training, and they're expecting it to be, quote, something special. Very interesting. This is the jump where they are now in the frontier range, comparable to the other frontier models, according to artificial analysis. Much stronger agentic performance, especially with things like GDP val. Frontier level intelligence at lower costs, because again, it's way cheaper. It's $2 per mil in and $6 per mil out, which is 60% below Opus 5's price and even more than 5.6 Sol's price. Costs 84 cents per task, which is similar to Kimi K3 with slightly higher intelligence. which gives it a really good place on the Pareto frontier, the cost versus how smart it is. Cost per task is right there with Kimi K3. Slightly more expensive than Gemini 3.6 Flash and Terra, slightly less expensive than 5.6 Sol, comically cheaper than Opus 5 and Fable 5 for real world use. That is $3.14 for Fable and 84 cents for Grok 4.6. This is more than double the price that Grok 4.5 was, though, which is the important detail they seem to be hiding. I'm guessing this price gap is a token difference between 4.6 and 4.5, which we can confirm here. Yep. I was so pumped that Grok 4.5 was as efficient as it was. Seeing them lose that with 4.6 is a little sad. They've increased the number of tokens per run by over 30% here. Previously, they were one of the few major providers out of a model that was more token efficient than 5.6 Sol. Now they're not. Now they are still relatively efficient, like comparable or better than Fable efficiency-wise, but it's no longer that magic efficient, small, fast, cheap model that I wanted it to be. This is something I've actually felt in my own usage because I noticed that the Grok 4.5 tests when I did them ran almost immediately, like creepily fast. 4.6 is back to the usual, send off the prompt and then go do something else that I'm used to from Frontier. They talk about their AA briefcase bench where it is now Fable 5 tier. Context window is the same at 500k tokens. The price is the same as well. They did increase the price of cache reads. Previously, it was only 3 cents per million tokens read. Now it's 5 cents per million tokens read for the cache. That might also be affecting price here. Some of these jumps are nuts. Like, I know I don't like GDP val, but this is one of the biggest jumps I've ever seen in that benchmark. Like, that's crazy. It's clearly much better at these long-running things, but it also thinks a lot more too. And again, as I said, it is now much more expensive, but it's also slightly smarter. It's got a really good score here in the cost versus intelligence, but this does yank them out of this golden area of like the green corner where it is the cheapest and the smartest, and forces it out over to be on the right side of the median for cost on the log scale, which is sad. They're clearly trying to rush their way to the frontier. So now it's time to see how it does with UI. I have other things I've been working on with it in the background too, but I am very curious how its design work is because it's a different model and it is nice to see the different ways different models handle design. As I mentioned in my Muse Spark video, I was actually surprised at how different the Muse models felt for design work than the usual Anthropic and OpenAI slop. I've experienced less of that with Grok models where they feel more like a dumbed down version design-wise. So let's see what they cooked. I'll start with none of the skills on and just go through these Grok 4.6 outputs. Shout out to Dara for making the site, by the way. The witchai.dev is super handy for this type of video. Here's the first design that it made. I don't like the noise pattern, and I really don't like the way that the text is so sharp with the blurry-ish background. It just doesn't feel cohesive. This feels like old era AI slop. Like this is GPT 5.0 is how this feels to me. The purple in particular is... yeah. This one has a nice little mock app in the corner, which is fine. The coloring is okay. Too many cards, too old school, like Tailwind template-y. This is the usual brutalism that we see from a lot of these, and this is a boring, centered page. Yeah, none of these impress me. I did happen to notice that when you use the design skill from Claude, it can do better. Some of them are sinful and disgusting, like whatever the fuck this is. Some of them have okay ideas on them, like this with the floating card things when you hover. Yeah, could be tidied up. This is sinful. This is sinful. Not digging this. And just for reference, here is Fable doing similar designs. Much, much better. Like, comically so. I hate the terminal ones, but other than that, or even like Opus does a much better job here with these. Or even 5.6 Sol, as cringe as it often is meaningfully better at this type of thing. Like this is a much nicer version of this style of page. So not great at design at all. I will show the real work I was doing with it earlier, but I first want to play with these fish slop ports because they're fun and I'm curious how it did. Those who aren't familiar, I made a game at the end of last year with Opus called Fish Slop with Opus 4.5. Never got very far with it. It was meant to be an insane aquarium clone. So I like throwing models at the old code base and say, rebuild this. You can reuse assets or whatever, but from scratch, make a new version of this game using that code base as a reference. And it's a fun way to see how well it like understands a lot of end-to-end work in a complex thing like the relationships between systems in a game. I'm already noticing that like the controls are bad. The sizing of elements is all wrong. Like these fish pellets are too big and the fish are too small. The fact that the thing you had highlighted on the bottom here stays highlighted when you move off it is really bad. Yeah, the movement just feels so not great. The pace of the game seems wrong too, where things don't like grow fast enough and you don't get to the next stage quick enough. Yeah, this just doesn't feel great. This is like Kimi K3 did a meaningfully better job with this than Grok 4.6 seems to be. But this is the easy version. The hard version is 3D. This is what I got when I first opened the 3D version of the game. A black screen. This is the first new model I have pointed at the task of make the game 3D and had it just outright fail. All the others might have had bugs and issues with like the movement or the mechanics or the models they created in the 3D space. All of them opened with a 3D environment. Even like GPT-5.4 was able to get that far. This is the first one that just outright failed to do the 3D port. I did tell the model that it failed. I even gave it a picture, which showed me how nice the rendering of pictures and things is inside of the Grok CLI, which like the Grok build CLI is actually genuinely really nice. Well, I told it to fix it with a screenshot. It appears that it did. So let's dive in and see. Oh God, this is so cringe. They got the directions wrong. So up and down is right, but left and right are inverted. I don't know how you get right and left inverted, but they did. The placement of everything at the ground is entirely wrong, like comically so. God, this is very bad and broken. The models for the fish are shit. This is the worst 3D pass I've seen on this in a long time, actually. This is like last year I would have expected quality like this. Just for reference, here's the version that Muse 1.2 made for way cheaper. It got some directional issues like up and down tilt it, but like it functions, the movement's way better, the core mechanics work a lot better. If we want to go to real Frontier, like, I don't know, Kimi, look at how much further along this is. The modeling of the things on the ground, the lighting's a little broken, but like this is a generational gap. This is an open weight model, by the way. Like you can go download the weights online and have a thing that is this much better at 3D. And the fish model is so much better. It's actually the best 3D modeling I've seen any of the models do so far. So yeah, there's your comparison. Grok is not even unimpressive. It's like last generation. It's so far ahead here. But then there is real world work. And for this, I was quite kind to Grok 4.5. I found it surprisingly capable of doing like real work where it had to touch different things that were complex and stay on task for longer running things. We'll take a look at the security audit it just did. It found a previous audit that I did in the Git history, so that's cool. So it's already strong. The auth broker, the worker isolation, the storage control plane will get us burned. Give us advice for locking endpoints, put it on the public suffix list. I already was planning on that. Like bed Chrome on every capsule page. Finish the admin trust and safety UI. Stop putting identity tokens in URLs. For a wider launch, refuse sandbox off flags in production. Yeah, did a decent audit here. Didn't get me any errors or problems when it did it. There are other deeper things it didn't find, but that's acceptable. This is the more interesting one I wanted to take a look at with y'all. I asked Grok 4.6 to take a look at how we have T3 code implementing Cursor, because the current build is using the out-of-date ACP adapter for the Cursor CLI. They want us to move to the SDK. I believe Julius's work on the new orchestrator includes that, but I wanted to see what it would do. So I asked it to go through and audit things and see how we would migrate from ACP to the Cursor SDK. For long-lived GUI hosts that need a real model catalog, resume, cancel images and usage, the SDK is the one that Cursor's actually maintaining. Yep. So why is ACP the wrong host contract? And then built-in fallbacks. Yep. These are all real problems that we've had with the current Cursor bindings, so it was correct there. Official docs, license AnySphere, TOS, not MIT. That's annoying, but that's fine. The SDK doesn't offer GUI level approve or deny. That's annoying, but we auto run anyways for most things. Blocking ask questions. The SDK will not allow that. And reusing agent login, that will not work. So we have to implement our own login, which is annoying. You know what I will do? I don't feel like reading Grok slop. We'll have 5-6 Sol share its thoughts momentarily. Plan approval could not be completed because the client disconnected. Plan mode remains active. Okay, so it put itself in plan mode. That is obnoxious. Did it put the plan in here anywhere? It didn't. That is very annoying. Yeah, the Grok implementation needs a little bit of work as well. I will put some time in the near future. I have to go turn on the legacy plan mode shit for this. While those plans are being audited, I'll show off a little bit of it behaving how I wanted it to here. I asked it what gaps exist in T3 Code's implementation of Grok build compared to other harnesses. It went through, it made a plan. I don't know where it went in the UI. There's some weirdness in the events that the Grok build, like ACP, sends out. So we have to put more work into how we clean those events up. But I asked at the end here, I wanted to see it differently. So I just said HTML, which triggers my HTML skill. And it responded there. The UI collapsed it again because their events are broken. I gave it some feedback on the plan, had it update, then asked it to build the whole plan, file a PR and babysit, which it did. I can go open it on GitHub and we can see what things thought. Here we got a bunch of feedback from Macroscope on the changes. It tore things to shreds here. But it seems like it followed my instructions really well. You'll see here that it used my account to reply to things, but I have a little call out in a skill I made for PR comments where I tell every agent to open its comments with, note, which model is responding on behalf of Theo. This is not a small change either. This is a 1,000-line PR that it made to address a bunch of different gaps in our coverage for Grok build. And I told it after it makes the PR to babysit it once it was filed. Then I told it to do one of my favorite things, which is to tell the agent to look through my actual history on my actual computer and find gaps in what events occurred and what we actually process. Just told it to make a separate PR stacked on the one that we currently have to do all these additional changes. This is a complex issue because it needs to know how to figure out and stack PRs, and it needs to keep track of the gap between the old PR and the new one, all the investigatory work it just did in the context of how it applies with my history on this machine, as well as all the other skills and things that it pulled in. It's not easy for models to deal with all of this competing context and stay on track. And this is one of the things, again, I thought Grok 4.5 did surprisingly well. It was able to take multi-step unrelated work and do it all cohesively and coherently in one thread. So we shall see how it handles this here. I just put together a really rough, how I would score Grok compared to Fable and Sol for different categories I think about. Things like cost, where Fable's way too expensive, Sol's significantly better, probably do a little lower there, but reasonably priced. And then Grok 4.5, way better on cost. Intelligence, Fable is the best right now. Sol is surprisingly good, but not quite as good. Grok is not, even this I would put a little lower there. Then you have speed, where Fable is very slow. Sol is meaningfully faster simply because it's so much more efficient. And then Grok 4.5, especially on the fast mode, flew. It was super fast and really nice. Then with thoroughness, Fable, I find, isn't quite as thorough as it should be. It misses things here and there, but it's thoughtful, not thorough. Sol is incredibly thorough. It checks every single thing. It touches every single edge, and it writes too much code as a result. 4.5 just did not have any of that. And then with orchestration capabilities, Fable was the best, Sol was surprisingly close, and Grok 4.5, better than most, but still not quite there. So how does this all compare to our new model Grok 4.6? Sadly, cost is a regression. I'd say this is a 6-ish now. Intelligence seems like a meaningful bump. I haven't seen too much of it being way smarter, but I can confidently say it's probably meaningfully better. We'll give it a 6.5 there. Speed is where I'm seeing one of the biggest regressions now, where I would put it at a 5.5 at best right now. Thoroughness, it is better, but it still misses things. I'll bump it slightly there. In orchestration capabilities, I did see it using subagents decently well. I'll give it a 6.5 here. Why not? The issue is the only things I would consider Grok previously to be a leader in were the speed and the cost. And we saw regressions in both of those categories with this release. The cost went up, not per token, but since the token efficiency went down, it's now more expensive. And the speed went down because it's less token efficient. So it's generating more tokens and it takes longer. These two changes make Grok much, much less interesting to me. But the speed at which the intelligence is growing suggests that Grok 4.7 will do a lot more in all of these other categories to catch up. The thing I liked Grok 4.5 for wasn't that it was as good as Frontier at specific things. It's that the speed and the cost were far enough away from Frontier that it felt uniquely useful in those ways. And I feel like we are losing that with Grok 4.6 a little bit. I think that summarizes my thoughts on this release. Is it my favorite model? No. Am I going to use it a whole lot after this video? Probably not. But does it have me excited for Grok 4.7? Absolutely yes. It makes a lot of sense why Elon's talking more about 4.7 than 4.6 right now. The future seems very clear, and it seems like a future where Grok catches up very fast. And I'm honestly pretty excited for that. We need more competition, we need more good models, and we need more people fighting to make them cheaper. Let me know how y'all feel. Is this an exciting release for you, or are you going to just ignore it? Let me know in the comments, and until next time, peace nerds.